My research problem, the application of critical thinking principles in game planning strategies for sports. The purpose of this video is to investigate the problem of not using the scientific method and critical thinking and game planning strategy by collaborating with other professionals, thus engaging many minds as research tools in the process of preparing for an opponent. Most coaches collect a massive amount of data in preparation for their upcoming game. Doesn't really matter what sport it's in. I coach several different sports. But instead of working as a team with other professionals both on and off staff to develop game planning using the scientific method and collaborating, most of them usually formulate the game plans without a lot of critical thinking principles being applied. Application of the scientific method typically involves theories both deductive and inductive. Coaches may develop a hypothesis either from assumptions, deductive logic or observations of specific events, and inductive reasoning. Then use assumptive predictions about the patterns that they're likely to see in the data, which will determine if the hypothesis is true. They may also use observations generalized from data taken from a sample, which describes the characteristics of a larger group on their team. The most important piece of this puzzle is now actually engaging others in a collaborative effort to apply data. Any single coach is apt to have a certain perspective, different assumptions, and theoretical biases. Not to mention many different holes that they may have in their approach to their research or game planning. By bringing one or more professional colleagues in on the scene with perspectives, backgrounds, and areas of expertise different from the coach's own observations and assumptions of the data, the coach engages in more cognitive resources or other minds on how to tackle the strategy problem while finding meaning in the data obtained. I've got a little time here, so I think the best example of this is I've coached high school, college players, and in most instances what I've seen is a massive amount of data being collected through scouting, observation, or maybe even making assumptions about the team that you played in the past year. The offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, and the head coach all go down and break down the film and come up with their game plans. I don't think that this brings the kind of cognitive thinking and collaborative effort into the game planning process as could be. If you use the scientific method, which I propose and which I have used with my staff as a defensive coordinator, and even a couple times when we got the offensive coordinator to do it, is that we would actually game plan against our own team, and then use those same principles, trying to think the way that the opposition would think, but from the other side of the ball, on how we would attack that team using the data that we had. And this can, in the beginning, it's quite a long process, but in the end, taking information from different people, calling other coaches, using the staff, using your own staff, and actually breaking down this data to where it could actually be useful, or really doing the kind of research that we need to do, I think is so important. So that ends my video on research problem, the application of critical thinking principles in game planning strategies in sports.